Welcome, folks, to The Gloves Are Off. I'm Josh Ryan, and for the first time ever, we don't have a co-host for you this evening. This is our final show airing on the New Cap television broadcasting waves. Lance Phillips, Carly Agro, Moses Woldu, all going to be featured, however, as we go through a little bit of a history look back of the past few years, dating back to the origins of The Gloves Are Off and where it's ended here in 2018. Hopefully we've picked some of the best memories, and hopefully that brings back a smile and certainly gives you a nostalgic blast for those of you who have followed the show through its short history. We'll start right from the beginning as we look at Carly Agro and the genesis of the show. She was the creator and the first host. It aired all the way back in July 26th of 2010. She was then host for the show for nearly 2 years before she moved on to brighter things, certainly working with Sportsnet Central now, paving the way then for Moses Woldu to take over the show. One of her favorite guests, Brian Curran, the former Lloydminster Bobcats coach, will be featured prominently here as well. Here's a look at the very first moment from The Gloves Are Off.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Carly Agro, the host here at The Gloves Are Off, and joining me this evening for our very first show, none other than Brian, the walking, talking soundbite Curran. How are you doing tonight, Brian?
I'm not doing too bad. You know, the fun part about it is we were talking earlier, we're on Blood Row here, I think. That's what I'm going to call it. Maybe that'll be part of the show today, too.
I like it. I like
See
it.
how she gets excited?
I am so excited. First topic, a little close to home. We've got some indie drama at the Edmonton Indy. Unreal finish. I'm going to go ahead and call it a controversial finish because I very much think it was. Scott Dixon comes out with the win.
I think it's just Canadians, they have to leave. There's not enough. Golf is growing here.
Yeah.
Short seasons. It's tough. These kids want to be good. They got to go to America and play.
Well, Adam Hadwin was the best Canadian. He finished tied for 37th. He was 5 under. I mean, you obviously would talk to Kyle about this kind of thing. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think asking a Canadian to win the Canadian Open on home soil is a huge thing.
Yeah.
You know, the Americans struggle to win the U.S. Open.
Yep.
I mean, you get guys like Angel Cabrera and others and foreigners. It's a hard thing to do on home soil, and we are clearly the underdogs.
Yeah, we are.
But we'd love to
let's
see it. That was before there was the buzzer.
Here's what we're talking about today. It's the CIS versus the NCAA. Bottom line is March Madness in full swing. Everybody out in Lloydminster and probably all across Canada is well aware of that. But we've had CIS championships in hockey and women's basketball and men's basketball going on during the exact same time. And I would say the average person couldn't tell you who the champ is or even who the Final Four were in either of the sports. My question to you guys is, why the difference? Why is March Madness so massive where the CIS takes a back seat to any and everything NCAA? Why the difference?
Fantastic coverage, fantastic product, and the people are so passionate about it.
Well, you say passionate though, but why as Canadians, who everybody says they're proud to be Canadian, why aren't we proud of our university athletics? Or why don't we give it the attention, the same attention that we give to the American athletics?
I think you've got to be careful on the word proud.
Okay.
I think they're very proud, Canadian people, and in that
We're
same way.
not arguing that.
But we're not that loud, obnoxious noise. Like, we're going to play a game in Madison Square Garden is the most amazing thing. And you've been playing college and that. I think when you come down to it, we'll end. You could end it real quickly by just saying money. I mean, we don't have the financial backing that the Americans have and the corporations that are that big that get involved and the TV rights and the big stations and what we talked about earlier, where you can go from that sport in college. I don't think there's as many doors here in Canada that can be opened in the States.
This, like you say, the television stuff. We have CTV, we have CBC, but you don't ever see CIS on any of those networks.
It has to come back. It comes back to population for me.
Okay.
The state's 10 times the population. I mean, we'll pack a football stadium with 10,000 people for a national championship football game, right?
Oh, yeah, and
national championship football game in the States, 100,000 people. They
Yeah.
just have that many more people. That many more people bring in more dollars.
So the
more-
resources is kind of a thing for you. You think if we had more people in Canada, maybe it'd be more attractive?
It all ties into itself, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the people bring the dollars. The networks see the people. The networks hop on board. It just makes the production that much bigger.
we're going to
and
make
better.
Carly laugh right now here. The biggest reason of all, come on, you know it, the number one reason that sports are bigger in States than Canada, the one thing you love to do more than anything before you go to that game.
Oh, the tailgating?
Tailgating. There you go. It is just an event of time to party and
Okay,
celebrate.
but see, then this is what I don't understand. Like, to me, I don't have an answer. I've been trying to answer it since I got into this business, okay? You've got, this team from Carleton has now won 7 out of 9 titles.
Men's
okay?
basketball.
Men's basketball. Why aren't you tailgating for that? I went on a recruiting trip to Wake Forest. This was the day after. The parking lot between a Duke and a Wake game was an absolute mayhem disaster. So my question is, you have the success, but you don't have the following.
I bet they are
Why?
tailgating for that, but it's -20 outside.
But how about this one?
So now
for
you're
ya?
saying climate
No,
is an issue
how about
because
this one
Wake's in
here?
North Carolina.
How about here's one might make sense to you. I think in the States, every sporting event is an event. A sport is an event. It's not just let's go watch football.
Right.
Well, why
It's
don't
a-
Canadians?
it's a-
One that I wanted to bring up, the Hockey League literally is the only league in North America that doesn't have a policy yet on this social media nonsense. And that was one of the items that was actually going to be up for debate and talks, because as much as it's nonsense and we don't want to have to talk about it, I think you do have to bring it up, because sooner or later something is going to happen that it's going to need to be sort of standardized just to help the class overall. Do you think that that's absurd? I think it needs to be discussed.
You know what? I don't think to the level that the NBA and the NFL have to do it, because I think hockey still, of the big, I still consider it one of the big 4 sports, but of the big 4,
It's 4.
It's a little bit more grounded, maybe.
they're more generated for families and
Okay.
everything else. But I think that, Twitter and Facebook or whatever you call it, you got to have that to a degree. I think you don't have to, if you do a policy, do it behind the scenes. You don't have to have
Okay.
a policy out in the open like you would for an NBA team.
Yes, you get the final word.
Well,
on
you're
this
opening
one.
up. You're opening up a lot of with the Facebook and the Twitter if it's done properly.
Yep.
I'm being laughed at. It didn't take long. All right, well, now it's time for our offside onside segment. We're going to flash the topic up on the screen for you. Week 1 in the NFL led to 4 concussions. The NFL's medical committee says what happened is not the start or a continuation of a trend, so there is no cause for concern. Do coaches, trainers, and league officials need to do more than just educate players about the risks involved? I know we're into week 2, and it wasn't as dramatic as far as the head injuries are concerned, but you guys both coach hockey teams. And, I mean, realistically, obviously, we've said this before, injuries are an inevitable. I'm
See,
sorry.
told ya.
See, it
There we
only
go.
took long. An inevitable part of the game. But if you look at the Eagles player, Stuart Bradley, the guy got his bell rung, stumbles off the field, and then gets put back in the game. I think you've got to draw the line somewhere. Somebody has to be the whistleblower in that instance.
Well, I think he stumbled. God, that was funny, and you didn't even laugh. I thought that was funny.
No.
You had the
Oh,
hands going and
okay.
everything. All right, forget it. Went past. You know what? I think NFL, and I thought this was a good subject, and I do have one viewpoint on it. There's a lot of contact head-to-head.
Yeah.
Like a lot. And is that the education that they need? I think that football is one of the toughest sports, hands down, no question, for whatever, 60 minutes, whatever. But the head-on-head, I mean, I don't know how much the brain or the neck can take, and I think they need to be some rule implemented in there.
Well, see, you bring up a good point, because, I mean, Kyle, you're a coach. Obviously, you're player, you are too, but, do you think that your players
Thanks.
feel the pressure to, even when they are hurt, or maybe they're not feeling 100%, to go because there's that added pressure?
I went through this past weekend with my hockey team, and I had a kid who wants to play. He wants to be on the ice. He wants to make the hockey team, and he just can't go. He's got a concussion from a lack of respect between players, and it starts in minor football, minor hockey. There needs to be a respect put in for the other person that you're playing against, and I think now with the big shoulder pads, the big elbow pads, the helmets that they say are concussion proof, there's lack of respect, and the players need to understand that there's serious things that can happen to the body if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And we had a kid that wanted to play like last week with a concussion. You've got one brain, and you don't mess with it, and we won't mess with it. But it's so funny, when Terry O'Reilly was here, we were talking about concussions back in our day.
Interesting.
And it
Well,
happens.
see, that's why we have the guests that we have on the set, because we learned. But we have to take another break now, but stay tuned. We will return with our Extra Frame segment.
We're back. You can keep your gloves on, but ours are off.
And welcome back, folks, as we continue to look back at the history of the Gloves Are Off in our final episode ending here in 2018. We just showed you in the previous segment a look at Carly Agro's tenure, as host of the Gloves Are Off and its initial shows. That paved way to a new era where Moses Woldu took over. There was a number of other co-hosts and guest hosts over that time period. Jack Haskins, before moving on to work for Global, spent some time as the host. Nariman Issa, who's now in CTV Edmonton, was another host as well. Brett Morton, a fill-in host among those. But Moses Woldu held the title as host of the Gloves Are Off for the longest period of any co-host. And as we make our way through this history, again, you'll see a few various guests he holds along that time. Andrew Brethauer, a frequent guest of his as well. He officially took up as the host in 2012 and held that role all the way through to 2016 before he moved on to CTV Edmonton. A few new segments came into form at that time, plenty more sports trivia, and there was lots of fun that still ensued. Here's a look at that now.
Where there are no penalties, nothing is offside, and everything is fair game. This is the Gloves Are Off.
Welcome to this week's edition of The Gloves Are Off. I'm Moses Woldu, and I'm pleased to be joined by my co-host, Greg Buchanan, the voice, the audible voice of the CPCA. How's it going, my friend?
Not too bad at all. I need a bit of a cushion here to get a little bit higher than our guest here.
I can slouch for you.
Yeah, there you go. And speaking of which, we have Lance Ward, former NHLer and coach of the Lloydminster Universal Heat. How are you doing?
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excellent. And we just want to talk a little bit. Your team didn't do too bad this season. You got a lot of promising kids and should be exciting for next year as well. Speaking of which, they got rid of their GM, and it was about time. Pierre Gauthier used up all of his 9 lives. He is now gone. Jeff Molson, the president and owner of the team, said, look, we're looking for a winner, someone who could bring in some players, but yes, he has to be bilingual. Do they really hurt themselves by saying that, limiting themselves at all?
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you put that big of a limitation on who you're looking for, there's no question that you're the drawing pool is small. I mean, what are your options really? That being said, I understand. You know, there's no question then that they need to keep their fans happy. They need to keep media, players, employees of the club. I mean, if the language is that big of a deal and that's what they have to do, then they have to do it. I mean, in my opinion, you can teach somebody a language in 6 months, a year, whatever it takes to learn French, but you know, to learn to be a GM is not a one-year process. It's a lifelong thing.
I'm thinking, from what I can remember, Scotty Bowman. I don't think he really knew French, did he?
Well, he knows it now.
Yeah.
But he was basically brought into it. But I think, Montreal doesn't have a choice in the matter. They have to have a GM that can speak both languages. You've been in the dressing room in Montreal, and there's 20 French reporters and maybe 15 English reporters looking for interviews after the game. So the French media really controls that province, and they don't have a choice in the matter. The next question now is, what do they do with Randy Cuddingworth? New GM, an English-speaking coach. I don't like Randy's chances staying around.
What about filling in that position? Obviously, next season is what they're looking for. Does Patrick Waugh fit in that mold? Do you bring in somebody else? Where do you go from there?
Yeah, I like Patrick Waugh as a coach. As a GM, I don't know. That's kind of tough.
We return. We're going to talk World Cup of Hockey. Canada, of course, no surprise that they would win. The favorites did do what they needed to do, sweeping Team Europe in that 2-game series. What was surprising was not just Team Europe, but people were pleasantly enjoying the games themselves. It wasn't, they, I guess, wouldn't know, considering you've had a big, long stretch from the last World Cup of Hockey in 2004. You fast forward 12 years later, you look at the crew that was on there. It wasn't bad hockey. I don't know, how would you describe it? Was it good, bad? What do you take away from it?
I enjoyed the hockey. For the most part, I thought the games were, phenomenal skill level and speed, and of course Team Canada. I mean, it just tells you the kind of depth we have in Canadian hockey at the professional level. And I liked it. I watched a lot of the games. I mean, there were some other games obviously weren't quite as good, but I think the level of hockey was right there. And as I mentioned before, as soon as you go from that World Cup tournament and then you switch on an exhibition game, it's not even close to the same hockey. So it tells me it was pretty good hockey.
There were some gimmicks there. We just mentioned Europe, we mentioned North America, but overall it seemed like everybody did enjoy it and it was a success.
Well, because a lot of people talk about North America, and originally they were written off as a no-show team, and now all of a sudden they were a legit contender, and then Europe was kind of written off as well as just a mashup, and then look what we get. So I don't know if they bring those gimmicks back. It worked for what it worked for. And it'll probably, North America would work again in 4 years because you'd still have McDavid, Eichel, Matthews all together. Europe, I don't know. I keep them because I don't know if you start individual countries if it's going to work well. But for that, the hockey was actually, considering it's September and you expect, bad hockey, it was actually decent hockey to watch.
The craziness of the fans. Do you believe that that's appropriate for the sport of golf? And did you enjoy it at all from what you guys saw?
I love it. I wish that was normal for golf. You wish, because look how passionate the Ryder Cup is. And you get to see it every year. It's the same. This isn't like a one-off. This happens every single time they play the Ryder Cup. It's this much passion. Fans are involved. Players are involved. Everyone's celebrating, fist pumping. That's what I want to watch. I don't want to watch that nice little and a guy's 200 yards away giving a little tap. No, I want to see emotion out of these players. We're so used to it out of other sports. Why not golfers?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that probably maybe the change to what you're saying is, the excitement and all that, I think that's great for them to maybe be under a little bit of pressure, but that's still why they're throwing people out of those events as well. They're escorting people out there to go a little over the edge. No different in a hockey arena or in a football stadium. There's certain things you can say, cheer on your team, those kind of things. But I think once you kind of cross the line. But on the other hand, Team Europe, I think he maybe fed the fire there a little bit from a comment that he made before. Mm-hmm. And maybe the U.S. fans come now with a little bit of, we'll get back at this guy for doing what he did in a report. So yeah, it made it a little bit interesting, that's for sure.
Oh, one thing I took out of it was, yes, there were some remarks, but it almost was reminiscent of Caddyshack, or even Happy Gilmore.
Oh, glorious.
Just the taunt. For me, I found it funny, but in this sport, I don't know if I guess maybe Ryder Cup is a Ryder Cup, but I don't know if I want to see it in any other event, to be honest with you.
I do.
In golf.
I want to see the emotion.
Do you want to see that in the Masters?
Yeah.
Do you want to see people with eagle heads on top of them and just
why not
going off?
That's good television. That's what that is.
First at bat in an instructional league, hits a home run. Sure, he went 0 for 5 the rest of the time, but he hit a home run on his first ever pitch. I like this. I'm on his bandwagon. I hope he makes the pros. What do you guys say?
Well, they put on a little T, right? Instructional. That's what.
T-ball.
We actually have a video. I'm watching. Did he T-bow on the home plate?
No, he did not do any. He did not do any of that.
He
did get mobbed by his. He got mobbed by his teammates, though. They loved him.
Watch, terrible. Come on, T-bow. You should have T-bowed on home plate.
Gentlemen, lady, you guys ready for this one?
Lady, I like that. A woman, yeah, let's go.
All right.
Let's do this.
Question 1 going for you. Ladies first. Nerman, the Boston Bruins and Detroit Red Wings have played the most Game 7s than any other franchise. This is also including Detroit's Game 7 on Wednesday. So if you combine that, and this is just the record amount of games, they played more Game 7s than any other franchise. How many?
You're talking about
it's not combined, but just
no. What do you mean by not combined?
I'm not looking for the combined total.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is Boston and Detroit.
Oh,
are tied.
themselves. Okay. Yeah. How many Game 7s did Boston and Detroit play each other for Game 7s?
Not play each other, but have played all time.
Okay.
In the franchise.
And seeing how we're going way back, let's go with, between the both of them, let's go 9.
Well over.
You're going over? The number is actually 25.
Okay, I'm like so off.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. You're going way back. I'm like, wait, modern era teams? Or are we going back when they played the original
We're
6?
saying all time. So it's 1-0 for you, Andrew.
Okay, then.
Question 2. This one's for you, and it's actually a follow-up to it. The Detroit Red Wings, as well as the Montreal Canadiens, share the record for most Game 7s won than any other team. How many?
Well, let's go with 17.
Over or under that number?
1. And we said Montreal and Boston?
Montreal and Detroit.
Detroit, okay.
They've won.
17. Let's go lower.
Going under?
Under.
You're correct. 14. So 14 is the number that both have won, which is a playoff record. So it's 1-1. Question 3 going to you.
I say we do a tiebreaker of arm wrestling.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
The viewers were looking for
Well, there
that.
you go. 1988, Baltimore Orioles held the distinction of having the worst start in baseball history. How many games did they lose in a row?
You should know this. 20. I don't know this, but let's go. I don't know this, but let's go 21.
You say 21? That is the correct answer.
Yes!
They lost 21 games in a row before
I
winning
knew
their
it.
first one.
I just wanted to psych you out. I knew it.
She shouldn't have added the other part in first. Rookie mistake.
What was the other part?
Never mind.
Question 4 for you, Andrew. It's 2-1. Chance to tie it up. In 1993, Capitals' Dale Hunter, remember him?
Oh, yes.
Very good player. Got suspended for a blindside check to the Islanders' Pierre Turgeon. How many games was he suspended?
10.
Over or
Back
under?
then, you knew you had to do something bad to get suspended like that. Over.
You're saying over? You are correct for going over. 21 games is what he got suspended for his hit on Pierre Turgeon. So you won. Chance to add a little salt in the wounds, Nairman. Former #1 draft picks Peyton Manning and Bruce Smith have been selected to more Pro Bowls than any other first overall pick. Of course, the NFL draft's here, so it seems appropriate to have this. How many Pro Bowls has Peyton Manning been to and Bruce Smith? And this is not combined, but just
5.
You say 5?
Over.
Over? Over is the correct answer. They've been to 11 Pro
See, I
Bowls.
had originally had 7.
each.
But okay.
So they've been to 11 Pro Bowls each. So not bad. All right, guys, thanks for playing. You'll get a chance to sound off, Nerbin, a few minutes, but we're going to take a break and be back with more Gloves Are Off.
If you can't score, you might as well drop the gloves.
And once again, welcome back to the final show of The Gloves Are Off. I'm Josh Ryan, your only host for this evening. And we move on now to another major milestone in the show's history. 2017, that's when Lance Phillips, who had become the official host of The Gloves Are Off, made the change with a new set and new show format, becoming an hour-long show. That first show happening in March of 2017. I was fortunate enough to be along for the ride as a co-host, and that went from one host with multiple guest co-hosts over the course of time, tackling various topics in a 30-minute frame, became a full hour-long show with a PTI-like opening, tackling various topics in the world of sports, but moving on to various other segments, which included a weekly interview every single show that usually ran in the span of about 10 minutes. We had many great guests over the course of our time, such as head coach Austin Dyer from the Lakeland Rustlers. Chris King was a frequent guest before he eventually became the new co-host with Lance Phillips, replacing my role there. And we had a couple of more famous guests as well, including our very first show, which had NHL legend Darcy Tucker. Let's take a look at that.
Hey, I'm Lance Phillips, and I am still in hangover mode from a national championship win.
I'm Josh Ryan, and between that and Colin Mockery and Hometown Hockey, I think I'm still hungover.
That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
That's really gross, actually, if you're still hungover.
Yeah, it's been a long weekend.
What, did you drink a lot?
No, it's so much excitement.
This is The Gloves Are Off.
This is it. The gloves are off. The new set. How exciting is this?
Finally.
Super pumped.
Super
pumped.
pumped.
Yeah, that was a really
We were
bad
so
high
pumped
five.
that we did a typical white man high
Yeah,
five.
that was so bad. But this is it. Lance
Yeah.
Phillips, Josh Ryan joining you for The Gloves Are Off. And I mean, the excitement level, as you can tell right now, is pretty high.
Yeah, you're jacked, I'm jacked. Let's get going, let's get started.
Let's get started. We're going to start with Lakeland Rustlers, a national championship win for the women's volleyball team. Not only did they dominate in the conference championships, they also went to Victoria and stomped the competition, i.e. VIU, the best ranked team in the country, no longer. What an incredible win.
I mean, what an incredible weekend of volleyball for the Lakeland Rustlers. A marathon match in the first round to get through the MSVU Mystics from out east. And then, as you said, best team in the country, VIU, defending national champions, 3 straight sets to take them down. And then the host Kempston Chargers, who were playing pretty well themselves, sold out home crowd. Rustlers silenced that crowd right away.
Hey, how about that #1 ranking for VIU? What about the #4 ranking for Lakeland? Mistake there? Please be joined by NHL veteran of how many years, Darcy?
Well, I played 16 years pro, 15 in the National Hockey League. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Leafs fans would still adore you, I think. Sens fans?
Not so much.
That's
From 2004, when the lockout first happened, to when I retired in 2010, there was a change. And then from 2010 till now, I found that there's been another change in the game. The speed, the size of the player, how they train themselves, the mental aspect of it. They're so much further ahead than what we were at that time in 2004 to where it is now. It's just amazing to watch.
When you say that, does that mean that you think the NHL's best days are ahead of it still?
I think it could be, yeah. Actually, I do. When I watch these young players coming to the National Hockey League, their mindset and their thought towards how they're going to conduct themselves and how they're going to carry themselves on the ice is much different than, even I started in 1996, and our thought process was get to training camp and then get in shape. Now, these guys are in shape. They're training year-round. What they put in their bodies is very important to them, how they train themselves. They're so dedicated to their craft and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish on the ice. Yeah, I think the best days are still ahead.
This week, we're heavy Rustlers. That's why we're at Lakeland College this week. As you can see, we're adorned with Rustlers gear. And this is the crown jewel right behind us. The Lakeland women's volleyball team winning gold at ACAC Conference Championships. And that's what we're going to start with, quite frankly, is it's the hot topic right now around Lloydminster. And Mr. King, as one of the big dogs here at Lakeland, how good was that victory? And I want to pose the question, is this the best Rustlers women's volleyball team ever at this school?
Okay, well, 2-part question.
It was terrible form.
I'm gonna answer the first part. The school's obviously excited. The athletic department. This is our first volleyball or basketball championship banner we've ever got to put up there, and that means a lot. We've been trying to break down this wall. We've had a lot of silvers on the men's basketball side. We've had 2 on the women's volleyball side. This is absolutely huge for our athletics deparament. So,
Albert, he's crunked. Isn't that what all the cool kids say now? He's crunked. He was crunked.
Well, clearly I'm not cool then, because okay. Blake, our producer Blake says 10 years ago that was what the cool kids said.
Okay.
So we're way behind, apparently.
Pittsburgh Penguins at Penguins. Bye-bye, Marc-Andre Fleury.
That picture is so gloriously awkward, man.
It is, right?
I don't think there's few more gloriously awkward pictures than that result. I hope he has a great time in Vegas. I think he will. I think he'll have a good
Vegas.
scene. And we'll end another one from Claire Hanna. How to tell you live in Sask. You go to the dentist and the entire office is sporting Riders gear.
Oh, I love it.
That kind of. I'm Josh Ryan, and I know what you folks are thinking. What a way to start the week. It's Curmudgeon Day.
I'm Lance Phillips.
Exactly.
I was trying to show the old, decrepit Lance Phillips there, but you're saying that curmudgeons could be any age.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a very arguable, disagreeable person.
I don't think that's me. I don't think that's me.
Oh, I wasn't saying you.
On the show it could be.
On the show it could be, but I'm saying you can be an 18-year-old and be a curmudgeon.
So, we're going to start, our first round is going to start on the far left side. So the Sony division is going to be first, followed by Columbia, then TriStar, then Paramount. If Rudy gets beat by Cool Runnings, we have a major problem. A major league problem.
I think there's going to be some upsets. Now, Cool Runnings is fun to watch, but Rudy is one of the
better
best.
movie by far.
Better movie, and we'll see what the fans say. But Cool Runnings is light. That's
Adam the Bull. This is Adam the Bull fan. It's been this is staggering.
It's been 296 days since a Browns win. It's been 736 days since a Browns road win. It's been 1,058 days since Browns won on the road, not in overtime. Like, they're 0-6 right now. Is this team ever going to win again?
I mean, if you're on that team, it probably doesn't feel like it.
Can you imagine what that...
We played in university. We played against Brandon, Manitoba, and they went 5 years without winning a game, and I have no idea how they even kept a team going. So same thing. How do you get players to want to play for you? How do you get them to buy into the system when they haven't won in how long? Like, it's just...
Well, that's almost a year.
That's
They're coming
insane.
up for a year. I mean, a year, it's not like they're playing year round, right?
Yeah,
They're
but
playing,
still.
obviously, 18 weeks of the season. But yeah, it's... they're a disaster.
It just creates a culture.
They're not the only one. The
losing.
49ers are 0-6 too.
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, the 49ers have a history of greatness. You know, guys like Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. They have a history of greatness. The Browns.
You've got mail.
So it's just been a culture of losing for a very long time.
A very long time. More Division 6 bound. We'll get this one in. But does it count as an attempt? Like, what was the guy thinking?
Oh,
What is
I
that guy
don't know. Like, had he done it before? Like, he was not even close.
no.
He must have got scared last second.
I don't
and
even think if
bailed.
he tries to jump over that guy, he is even going to clear the car. That guy's not there. He's probably not even clearing the car.
No, I don't think so either. And like, even just jump over the guy to start with, and then maybe just the
let's
car, and then
progress
add.
this along.
Yeah, because you're nowhere near getting that through.
What we learned is coming up.
We're back, and the gloves are still off.
And once again, welcome back to The Gloves Are Off. Now, Lance and I had plenty of fun on this show. I was away for a period. Chris King took over, became the full-time co-host, and there was even more shenanigans to be had. Lance and Chris would branch off to do a few of unorthodox ideas, you might say. Throwing darts, playing crokinole, having plenty of debate also. I came back to the show as more of a guest correspondent and got to enjoy a few times on camera talking about various funny viral videos, including this memorable one we'll show you now. Here's a look back at a painful golden championship moment in ACAC futsal, along with a few of my other favorite memories from The Gloves Are Off.
What did you see? What did you see from your own eyeballs?
Well, my own eyeballs saw maybe the greatest play in the history of collegiate sports, to be honest. Certainly the greatest ending to a college championship of any sort. All these penalty shots are gimmies, but not for him, apparently. That's Eduardo Filho who missed that shot. Here he is with the chance to win it for his home team. So let's see how he does.
Oh, that's a save.
That's exactly what you thought it was. Shooting for Old. And so now as we slow it down, the first problem here, no cup. That's very important for keepers of any sport, wearing a cup. Just whether or not you need to protect what's down there.
Is this pre-ritual, this dance that's happening right now? Like,
that's actually very typical. He's a little bit more animated than most keepers, but that's very typical of keepers as a way of trying to get in the shooter's head.
And that's a nut shot.
Yes, that is.
That's
you could not have more perfectly landed in the breadbasket than that shot.
What happens afterwards?
Well, selfishness mostly from the other Keanu teammates, but let's roll the clip. As you can see here.
So what are they doing here now?
Now, right now, I think they're trying to stretch him out a little bit, which is not a great idea with the groin injury. It's actually really not a good idea.
That doesn't look good for anybody.
It's a nice gesture from the guy who lost there to come and say high fives. Again, I'm not sure how that's actually supposed to stretch the groin either, but now he's trying to just get things a little bit loose, which
like
actually amplifies the pain for anyone who's been hit in the nuts before. It amplifies the pain.
It looks like
he's standing up on his own two legs at least. He's not just a limp body anymore. But Daniel Ribeiro, the guy who lost the game on that shot, and there you see.
Is this him?
This is him, player of the game, Cruz Cornell, a miraculous recovery from
That is
being unable to use
incredible.
his limbs. Miraculous recovery, and all of a sudden he has enough energy to do 4 jumping jacks in a row.
Where does that land in the world of the greatest moments?
It is not only the greatest moment in the history of the ACAC, this is the single greatest championship moment in the history of sports. We have never seen someone win a championship getting hit in the nuts before. It's just never happened.
And futsal balls are much different than the soccer ball, right? Like, because the soccer
Yes.
ball has more bounce. The futsal is similar to a rock, if I'm not mistaken.
It's like a rocket. That thing is going like 70
It's a little
miles.
smaller of a ball, too, so it more perfectly fits into the crotch as it hits the crotch.
Right. The best thing about this show is it's fully unscripted, and
Yes.
literally a lot of the times it's off the cuff. That idea we came up with today.
And
we came up with that today, and we thought, let's try and make this work. And it actually is. I thought it was pretty funny.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say possibly the best segment ever done on the show.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I mean, the Crokinole is pretty good.
Yeah, that's up there. It's top
That's
5.
better than.
Always rock, baby. Always rock.
Should have gone paper. Oh. Yes!
Okay, little excited.
Ooh,
I cannot make a corner shot. I
know you can't. Oh. All right. Should we tally up the score?
Sure.
Should we tally up the score? Oh, we have 5 minutes. We got lots of time. How about that one, baby? In there. Oh, I thought you had it. They just go for it.
Just get him out.
Just go for it.
So my granddad used to play this all the time, and I never won. I know, real shocking from the performance today.
Yeah. Ah!
Not a takeout.
I dropped a piece.
I got 2 left.
Ah!
Lance does not do well with pressure.
Oh!
That's a fan. That was a fan.
Calgary Flames going to look good on that man right there. That is for sure.
That was embarrassing. That was really embarrassing.
I'm Lance Phillips. You ever heard of the Flowbee haircutting system? Neither is my man Kinger.
I'm Chris King, and yes, this hair is a mess, but I make up for it in personality, obviously.
As you can tell. As you can tell. Hey, it's Chris Kinger's happy birthday day today. He's 52, and I'm going to buy him a new haircut.
I'm Chris King, and I am not 52. I am 35 years young.
No
today.
way!
Young
No
today.
way! I'm Lance Phillips. The desk is not fixed. It's still too low.
I'm Chris King. I would argue the desk is still too high for me.
Holy
I
cow,
cannot
man.
get my head above the
You're
table.
not even that far away from me. How did that happen?
Here. And pause it right as he lands. So pause it there. Very good timing as well.
That's actually perfect.
You can see here it's a downslope. So you knew as soon as he took off, he wasn't going to have a steady landing because you're automatically propelled forward on a downslope versus a steady plateau of land.
There's no real, it's just to land this massive jump off the side of a concrete wall.
Yeah, you pretty much got it. That's it.
Okay, so
that's all that the goal was.
So my other
risk versus reward doesn't really match up here.
Other concern around Josh on this is clearly his buddy's filming this. So he tried this trick several times.
You think?
How
Or
many-
this might have been the only time
No.
it was attempted.
I don't. Well,
You
I
attempted?
I hope it was, but clearly he had set him up and told him hey, go here. I'm just wondering what those wipeouts
I think you're
would have
giving
looked like.
young males too much credit. It's more likely that this was the first one to try this out,
Right.
and they wanted to have a video in case it was awesome.
He was the guinea pig.
Here it goes. Now start counting.
6, 7, 8.
9 seconds it takes for his skateboard to come to a stop.
He blew a shoe right off.
Yeah, it was a yard sale of shoes.
Yes.
And second, what's the whiplash factor on that? Because that looked almost as bad as where the pole hit.
Well, I think if you asked him, any other added damage is really irrelevant at that point. You're really just focusing on what's between the legs.
Are you sick?
I'm real sick. This is from my kids, in case you didn't notice. It's not like you, self-inflicted.
Hey, there's mail.
Toronto Argonauts.
Never self-inflicted. I'm sorry, you are first today. I apologize.
Sick person goes first.
That's sick person goes first.
Paul Hollingsworth. We're getting it out here. It's coming out. 13,804 tonight in Ottawa. I get that we need a downtown rink argument, but from 2005, 2006 to 2015, 16. We got 35 minutes for this segment?
Yeah,
or
we
what?
do.
Okay.
We do. Yeah. So this is the part of the show that could take a while, is the doubling in.
Which?
By my calculation, that's 25.
Okay.
Oh, that was
zero.
in there.
That was not
That is why we need a rug.
That was off the board, I think.
11! That's my jersey number
That's
for
it.
anyone who wants to know random trivia.
Hey, you're left with 36. You need a double 18. Oh. Oh. 14. Now he needs
14.
a double 2.
Double two.
Oh, he's over.
That's a
He's
double?
over. You should almost do just any double to get out.
Yes, we started out at 501 and had to ditch the rules to get points on the board.
Okay.
At the end of the break, Kinger leads with 18 points.
Okay.
Lance is at 24. So you're looking at a double 12 to win, and Kinger is looking at a double 9 if you miss this double 12. And for Kinger. And your winner!
Oh, man.
Coach Chris King!
Hey, took me 700 shots to get 501.
Man. At one point, you had the big lead here. At one point, Kinger was up by like 100 points.
Yes, this wasn't an impressive
victory
victory
at
at all.
allow it to get
Well,
to
I
this
kind
point?
of play to the crowd, get everyone involved, edge of their seats, obviously, and then suck them back with the double.
I thought that I'd seen it all, but right now, get your pen ready.
One.
Right now, it's the Ottawa Senators. The most pressure right now is on the Ottawa Senators. Not to win the season, but the pressure immediately is what's going on with the Carlson thing. So as it stands right now, the pressure, once the season starts, there's one team the pressure's on, and it's the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
That's the only team right now that the most pressure's on. And I'm following that up. Here's the order after that.
Yep.
Flames, Oilers, Jets, Senators, Canadians, Canucks.
And I disagree full-heartedly.
Okay, well, that's fine. Don't tell me you disagree. Just disagree with me. Why?
Edmonton Oilers have the most pressure. They have the best player
They
in
didn't
the
do
NHL.
anything this offseason. They've done zero this offseason.
They have the best player in the NHL in his rookie contract, which happens how often? Hardly never.
It happens every time a rookie signs a contract.
Sidney Crosby was the last time. You have to start being really good in that rookie contract. The best player in the league, if they're not in playoffs, they got a new GM, they got a new coach.
He is signed for the next 8 years, I believe it is.
Yeah, now his
So he is
extension
signed.
yeah.
He's signed.
The internet is absolutely amazing.
Like, the creativity that people have is incredible to me. Like, is that a bottle of Hennessy?
Yeah.
What's he got there?
He likes his Hennessy. He tweets about it a lot.
All right. Dom. At Dom, I don't even know how you say that. I'm not even going to try. Quote, what do you mean it's 107, 107?
The squints. He plays like that all the time. It's odd that he can play basketball and squint like that.
These are so good.
Okay, Nat, hashtag NBA final. Oh, unbelievable.
Let's get one more here. Big Cat, at Barstow Big Cat. This picture is incredible. Just sit over there, JR, and think about what you've done. That came out moments after that happened. I was like, oh my word, this is amazing.
I'm surprised they let him back
This
on
is the kind of stuff that makes the internet incredibly good.
Pete Blackburn, veteran hockey move. Can't teach that. JR trying to secure at least 1 point by heading to OT. Gold.
Last one, Billy Ray Mitchell. At Billy Schmerda. J.R. Smith says, who's winning, Pusha or Drake? And he says, we as in definitely can't count on you to keep score. Oh, those are so great, man.
Around here and pause. You can see just his look on his face. That is when he realized what he was in for. I think he might have been a first-timer. And play as you can see the aftermath of what happens to this. This is actually an event that's resulted in more than 100 deaths in the past couple of deaths.
What, this year or
No,
all
no,
time?
all time. The most recent injury tally was 18 injuries in 2017, I believe it was. So definitely a lot of
Can't
injuries.
imagine anyone getting injured doing this. It doesn't seem like a sport that would get anyone injured.
If we'll actually continue playing the video here, as you can see, this is the females race, and here's our winner here.
So Blue Jays have over 500,000. There are over 500,000 fans lower in attendance this year. So it's all coming out of Toronto.
Good thing I got rid of those tickets.
No kidding. We got some good stuff coming up on the other side. But yeah, something's got to change, Kinger.
It's going to happen.
Got to get these kids excited about baseball.
We're back, and the gloves are still off.
And one last time, welcome back to The Gloves Are Off. I hope you've enjoyed this look back at some of our favorite memories from the show over the past 8 or 9 years. It really has been a pleasure to be involved with this, to be involved with the legacy of it. I hope that everyone who's tuned in over the course of this show's history have enjoyed getting a look at local sports and hearing people just chat about sports topics in general. Whenever you come up in the broadcasting industry and sports is one of your focuses, getting to chat about it live on television is kind of a dream come true. So for all of us who have been involved with it, it certainly was a dream come true. It's something I know I will miss, and many of the people involved who were involved this year will certainly miss, but we will hope to enjoy bringing you sports content throughout the year as our new programming comes into effect in September. And you'll still get plenty of opportunity to see local Rustlers in action, local Bobcats action as well. Just one more thing before we go away. We were fortunate enough to have Carly Agro on the show. Lance and Kinger's final episode, they got to have an interview with her one-on-one via Skype, and she got to share some of her favorite memories from doing the show, as well as what it meant to her to be the host and the creator of this show and the impact it had on local viewers. And we will leave you with a little bit of that interview as we head on out. So as for my speaking for myself, Newcap Television, thank you so much for tuning into this program over the past decade. And once again, here are Lance, Kinger, and Carly Agro to give you one last look on The Gloves Are Off.
Congratulations on an epic run, and kind of a big thank you too for keeping the gloves alive while I've been gone, and everyone else who's come before you and after me and everybody in between, because I think it's quite an accomplishment. Way to go.
We've had so much fun doing this weekly. Was this the highlight of your week when you got to do this show as well?
It was a ton of fun, and as you guys know, when we started, Brian Curran, aka the Colonel, was a regular fixture on the program, and anytime you get Brian Curran and a microphone and a television camera in the same room, you know that good things are going to happen. So it was a ton of fun. It was awesome getting to meet people. It was a great way to connect to the community. And you know what? It was really well received. We got a great reception. The best part would be when I'd be at the grocery store at Safeway and someone would come up to me and say, "Hey, I saw you on that gloves show, and I gotta tell you, I don't agree with this or that."
Oh,
and that
that's
was what I loved. So I was really proud of the work that Aaron Streck did with showcasing the Rustlers, because I'm a college athlete, and I think that we really made an effort when he and I were working together to showcase those athletes, because the Rustlers attract a really high level, like a quality athlete. And I was proud that just because these students might be feeling like, oh geez, you know, we're in Lloydminster, but hey, like Lloyd deserves its place on the map, and those athletes have done a really good job of putting Lloyd on the map. In that college, you can take the girl out of Lloyd, but you can't take the double L out of the girl. I always have you guys always have you in my thoughts when I'm on the desk too. Whenever I can make a Lloydminster connection on air, I always try to do it.